The September 1988 issue of Wrestling Eye is a compelling look at the state of professional wrestling during one of its most exciting eras. This issue offers an in-depth analysis of the ongoing WWF versus NWA battle, spotlights key rivalries and rising stars, and provides editorial perspectives on major promotions, feuds, and wrestlers. Major highlights of the issue. Cover features and key stories. Hulk Hogan, I Will Return as Champion. NWA versus WWF, The Last Word on the War. The Heavyweight Crystal Ball, Predicting the Next Big Champions. The Varsity Club, Kevin Sullivan's Dominance. The Ultimate Warrior, Hercules Will Fall. J.J. Dillon, The Four Horsemen's Master Strategist, The Metamorphosis of Barry Windham. The Hart Foundation Breakup, Bret Hart Goes Solo. Wahoo McDaniel, The Spirit of a Fighter. The Unpredictable Johnny Rodz, NCW Champion. The Iron Sheik, Wrestling's Misunderstood Man. Comrade Orga, From Russia with Hate. Demolition versus the British Bulldogs, a tag team war. Ric Flair versus Sting, Match of the Month. Detailed breakdown of key articles. Hulk Hogan, I Will Return as Champion, a bold prediction that Hogan will regain the WWF Championship from Randy Savage. The article discusses Hogan's hiatus from wrestling, his venture into Hollywood, and his family life. Hulk's inevitable return is hyped with the belief that he will reclaim the title before the end of 1988. Speculation on a future feud between Hogan and Ted DiBiase, with the $1 Million Man being a major factor in Hogan's return. The idea that Savage's reign was only temporary, setting the stage for Hogan's redemption. NWA versus WWF, The Last Word on the War, a comparative analysis of the WWF and NWA, breaking down their leadership, talent, and promotional strategies. Jim Crockett, NWA versus Vince McMahon, WWF, contrasting styles of management. The WWF's rock and wrestling strategy versus the NWA's focus on athleticism. The magazine acknowledges that the NWA still produces better in-ring wrestling, but WWF is the undisputed king of mainstream exposure. Mentions WWF's dominance in pay-per-view events, including WrestleMania 4's Impact and its battle against the NWA's Clash of the Champions. Notes WWF's revisionist history, including falsely claiming Hogan and Andre never wrestled before WrestleMania 3. The Heavyweight Crystal Ball, a forecast on upcoming champions in both WWF and NWA, predicts that Ric Flair will retain the NWA World Championship for most of 1988. Suggests Lex Luger could be the next NWA champion if given the right push. In the WWF, speculation about Ted DiBiase or Hulk Hogan dethroning Randy Savage. Mentions the Ultimate Warrior as a future megastar, citing his overwhelming popularity. The Varsity Club, Kevin Sullivan's Mind Games, covers Kevin Sullivan's latest faction, the Varsity Club. Details how Sullivan recruited Mike Rotunda and Rick Steiner, transforming them into a dominant tag team. Examines Sullivan's psychological tactics, using mind control and cult-like rhetoric to manipulate his followers. Spotlights Rotunda's success as the NWA TV champion and Steiner's brutal, reckless style. Foreshadows a potential Varsity Club implosion as tensions between Steiner and Rotunda rise. The Ultimate Warrior, Hercules Will Fall, chronicles the Ultimate Warrior's rapid rise in the WWF. Discusses his ongoing feud with Hercules, which began over a chain match. Highlights Warrior's insane strength, including breaking a steel chain in half during a match. Predicts that Warrior will become a top-tier WWF star and possibly a future champion. Calls Warrior wrestling's next big phenomenon, even though his in-ring skills are still raw. J.J. Dillon, The Horsemen's Master Strategist, a deep dive into J.J. Dillon's role as the manager of the Four Horsemen. Explains how Dillon's experience as a wrestler and promoter makes him a valuable asset. Describes his role in shaping the careers of Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Barry Windham. Notes that Dillon has secured top contracts and major matches for the Horsemen. Foreshadows the Four Horsemen's future dominance, but also hints at potential instability. The Metamorphosis of Barry Windham focuses on Barry Windham's heel turn and alliance with the Four Horsemen. Explains how Windham betrayed Lex Luger and joined Ric Flair's stable. Calls Windham one of the best natural athletes in wrestling, predicting a future NWA World title reign. Highlights Windham's feud with Dusty Rhodes. Continuing the long-standing Horseman versus Rhodes rivalry. The Hart Foundation breakup. Bret Hart goes solo. Covers Bret Hart's decision to leave Jim Neidhart and manager Jimmy Hart. Discusses the internal friction within the Hart Foundation. Notes Bret's growing popularity as a singles wrestler, particularly after his strong showing in the WrestleMania 4 Battle Royal. Mentions Bret's younger brother Owen Hart and how his rise may have influenced Bret's decision. Predicts that Bret Hart will become a singles champion in the future. Demolition versus the British Bulldogs, a tag team war, features a detailed breakdown of the feud between Demolition and the British Bulldogs. Highlights Demolition's dominant WWF Tag Team Championship reign. Notes the Bulldogs' struggles with injuries and backstage tensions. Foreshadows that Demolition will have a long title run, potentially leading to a feud with the Hart Foundation. Ric Flair versus Sting, match of the month. Recaps an epic match between Ric Flair and Sting. Calls it one of the best matches of 1988, praising Sting's athleticism. Acknowledges that Flair is still the best in the world, but Sting is getting closer to dethroning him. Suggests that Sting could be the next NWA World Champion, but needs more experience. Final thoughts on the issue. The September 1988 issue of Wrestling Eye does an excellent job capturing the intensity of the WWF versus NWA rivalry, while also focusing on key wrestlers who would go on to shape the industry. Biggest takeaways. Hulk Hogan is destined to reclaim the WWF title. The Ultimate Warrior is on the rise, but still rough around the edges. Ric Flair remains the king of the NWA, but Lex Luger and Sting are future threats. The Four Horsemen are still dominant, but Barry Windham's heel turn shakes things up. Bret Hart is set for a breakout singles career. Demolition is the top team in WWF, while the British Bulldogs are fading. The Varsity Club is a dangerous faction, but could self-destruct. Predictions that came true. Hogan won back the WWF title at WrestleMania VA. Ultimate Warrior became a megastar and won the WWF title in 1990. Ric Flair remained NWA champion for most of 1988. Bret Hart became a single star and future world champion. Sting eventually won the NWA World title in 1990.